occurred, huh? Okay, I think we're good.
I don't see it coming up yet. Oh. Oh, people can hear me. 1 second, I'm ready. Sounds good.
Yo, what's up, everybody? How we doing? I'm gonna kill the music. How are we doing, everybody? How is everyone? Welcome in, Kane, Key, Dark. How are y'all? Anybody else that's listening in? Welcome in.
Hello.
So, I think we have quite the interesting podcast today. What's up,
Yeah,
everybody? How we doing?
interesting is a good word
How
for
are we?
it.
Yes, interesting is a very, very good word for it. I think. I think we're gonna be. I mean, y'all know we're gonna be talking about Grandia 3. Anybody that's in the Discord, the respective Discords, y'all know it's gonna be a time. It's gonna be a time. But
Yeah, we have we have a lot to say.
you sound super excited, Polly.
Yes. Well, honestly, I've been waiting to review this for like I know we just beat the game, but like ever since we just beat the game, I was like, I just want to go live and review this now. While it's
I,
still,
I've had the
like,
same
still in the
feeling.
brain.
I've definitely had the same feeling. I'm without jumping in immediately, like, yeah, I think I've definitely had a similar mindset. And I think, yeah, a lot of people have been very opinionated about it.
Anno,
But yeah, I think
hi.
yo, Enno, welcome in. I think it's gonna be I don't know. I still think I might surprise you a little bit.
I'm curious. I'm curious. So while we were playing this game, we've been DMing each other like the whole
Mhm.
time. We needed that support system.
Okay. That's kind of.
But it's cool because we still like withheld stuff back from each other.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's gonna be really fun because there's like parts of this that neither one of us know how we're gonna respond and go with it. And I think it's gonna be fun for you guys and fun for us too. For sure.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good time. I don't think it's gonna be. I don't know. I have opinions. That's what I'll say. I have opinions. I am very, very opinionated. The game is right here. I do have my copy of the game right here. Shout out to my Twitch community that got it. Shout out to my Twitch community that got it for me way back in like 2022.
I actually have this copy from when it like released.
Oh really? Oh shit.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I've had this like since the game came out, more or less.
Damn.
Because I love 2 so much. I love 2 so much. And so like this was like an instant buy for me. Way back when, and then never played it. Played it a little bit in college, don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Got to it.
Should we just go ahead, start the episode, dive in?
You sound so thrilled about this.
Yeah, we're just gonna we gotta rip the band-aid off. We have to.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. We got hi everybody.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1, and we are live. So welcome everybody to the first episode of Turnbased Tangents in 2024. So obviously I am KJ.
I'm Polly.
And we're reviewing Grandia 3 today. So Grandia 3 for the PS2. It was, I believe, developed by Game Arts as well, but published by Square Enix. So you will see Square Enix on the cover. And that, I think, will, at the very least, pull people in. So we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, so this is the third game in, I guess technically the fourth game I found out.
Fourth, yeah.
I thought Grandia Extreme came out after this, but it actually came out before Grandia 3. So this is the fourth game in the series, effectively. And we reviewed Grandia 1 as our first game on Turnbased Tangents back in, like, July of 2022 or June of 2022 or whatever it was. And now we got this.
Now we got the third one. And you know what? It seemed fitting to have the Grandia start us off for the new year. Because our first one was Grandia 1. So I know KJ's saving 2, I believe, to stream. And I've already played all the way through 2 several times. So we were just both like, we both had 3, and we're like, oh, we'd never played it. And I played a little bit in college, but I don't remember any of it. I found my save file. It was like 4 hours. So I only played like 4 hours in college. So it's it felt fitting to start off the new year with this
I wonder,
game.
I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to put you on the spot immediately. Do you regret that? Do you regret starting the year off?
No, because I think this is going to be a really interesting episode to start with. How about that?
Okay.
There's my decaf for your question.
Okay. I thought that question was gonna freeze you up. I'm not gonna lie.
You're trying to throw me off. I love it.
Yeah, we got to switch things up. Got to keep things a little different, right?
For those who don't know the podcast, KJ and I play a game off stream every month. Sometimes we double up if the game's going to be really long, so we might have it like 2 months. But generally, it's a month, and we've been doing this since 2022, which is super exciting. And we play these games off stream, and then we come on here and review it. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes we're very scared we're going to be canceled, but it's been a fun time.
I mean, to this point, our opinions haven't gotten us canceled, so there's that. We'll see what happens today, whether or not people are agreeing or disagreeing with us. But hey, I mean, it is what it is. So I think we should just jump right in. I do think we should, now that we've given a little bit of an intro and everything. So Grandia 3.
So anxious for this. It's like, yeah.
I am. And it's funny because I actually brought up Grandia 1 because of like that was a little bit of foreshadowing. I'll just be straight up about that. It was a little bit of foreshadowing. Because it's definitely a case of like, as you're playing this game, your Grandia 3 copied Grandia 1's homework. Let's just be real. It copied its homework, but it did it in a way where like it got the homework and then like dropped it in a puddle of rain outside. And then it was all like smeared ink. Couldn't tell what it was completely, but then was like, all right, that's definitely it. We got it. Like that is the best way for me to explain very vaguely Grandia 3.
Vaguely, he said.
Very, like, that is the best way for me to describe that. Like,
oh my God, I'm laughing so hard I'm crying.
but I will say, Grandia 3 took that, but then it wrote its name in cursive. So that way it was a little bit fancier with some stuff as well. So that's my very vague, brief description of this game.
Honestly, I'm gonna say the cover of this game is fucking like it's cool as shit.
Oh yeah, it's cool as hell. It's cool as hell.
This is cool as hell.
The cover of the game's great.
You know what? Like, they leveled up their cover art and like this. What could possibly go wrong from here?
Yeah.
So that's a great description, and honestly, so how long did it take you to think that one up? Like 2 seconds, 3 seconds?
Honestly, it was okay. So like the beginning of the game, I feel like it's giving you that vibe of like, okay, you're going on an adventure. I'm cool with that. Like that's definitely how Grandia 1 started, and I was feeling good about that. I was like, okay, cool. Like they went with the same thing. But then I started meeting some of the characters, and I'm like, oh, this character reminds me of this person. This character reminds me of this person. Wait a second. Like, this is starting to be just a little too spot on. But I think where it started to deviate was a little strange because then it started getting to a point where they didn't develop the characters that weren't copied. Like, and that was my first thing that sort of stood out to me. I was like, okay, you copied Grandia 1. That's fine. Like, you want to go back to sort of pay homage to your first title, whatever. That's fine. But like, for the things that you're going to differentiate, for the characters you're going to differentiate, like, or differ from that, you need to develop them. And I felt like that was a consistent problem throughout the game where they weren't developing these characters, and it was a case where it was like, well, now you want me to feel for these characters, but I've seen them on screen 3 times, and in 2 of those scenes, it was like this random drive-by flashback where I just saw their face and they smirked.
Yeah. Talking a little bit about like the right start. This game is heavy in cutscenes,
Oh yeah.
but in a sense where it wasn't necessary at times. Like it was like it was one of those things where it's like every like few minutes was a cutscene. It was a cutscene. It was a cutscene, and it would just be like, oh yeah, let's do it, and that was the cutscene. And then you go on to the next like little bit and stuff. And they even made like in-game mechanics be cutscenes. So
A little
when
bit.
they tried to start setting up the mechanics for you and stuff, like, oh, you chop this thing and let's go like you push this boulder to make a bridge, and now it's a whole cutscene. Like they really went heavy on the cutscenes with this, without without the meat that the cutscenes would have needed. You know what I mean? Like they were like empty cutscenes, more or less. But
I will say, like, the animation and like the cutscenes themselves at least looked good. So there is that. Like the game looks, the game solid.
Looks great. You start off with the cover and it looks awesome. The character designs are all really cool. I mean, there's obviously one of them is like a literal carbon copy, almost exactly, of a character from Grandia 1. But other than that, I mean, like the designs were pretty cool. And like the art style was good. And like even just before we went live, we found a picture of the concept art, and then I kind of dived into the concept art a little bit, like looking up more pictures of concept art and stuff like that of a iteration of this game, and it looks really good. In fact, I like the concept art almost better than the 3D.
Oh no!
The 3D art that we got. I mean, it's still cool and it's definitely like, but like there's just something really weird about the yes, there we go. That concept art. But yeah, there's something really weird about the mouths, the mouths. Like of the character. I don't know why that word sounds really weird to me right now. But the mouths of the characters and the way they talk and the way they express is just, they go from looking really flat to really like,
yeah, they go like you said, they go from like no emotion to a lot of emotion.
Yeah,
it's really weird. And
yeah,
I do think so. Some questions were asked about like, oh, is it similar to like Xenosaga? From what I've seen of Xenosaga, it very much seems like that, which could be a situation of like it's just part of the era, but also like not every PS2 game was like super heavy on cutscenes like that, to the point where it was like they're filling things that don't need to be filled with cutscenes, right? Like it's just they were kind of overdoing it. But yeah, the cutscenes, the characters definitely had some of the like no emotion to like extreme emotion really quick, like 0 to 200. Like it was ridiculous.
Yeah, and back when this was made, obviously technology hadn't like super caught up yet, and I could definitely tell because I used to do like 3D modeling or 3D character art and stuff. I still do 3D modeling. I shouldn't say used to. I still do it. I do 3D modeling and stuff, and like in the face and everything, the blend shapes for doing the expressions were done like not enough like polys in that area to give it a more than just open really wide and closed and like open a little bit and closed a little bit. So like there wasn't enough blend shape and like blending of the animation to give it more emotion and more emotional range. Probably partly because of the limitations back then, but also partly because I don't think I know Square Enix published this game, but I don't know if there was like a super ton of funding put into it, because it
Yeah,
definitely
I don't
felt
know.
like they were cutting corners, even in the animations and stuff like that for the cutscenes. There's just like little things like there that I see in other Square titles of like cutscenes being a lot more
Okay.
fleshed out than in
Mhm.
this one. So I'm like, I'm not sure. I didn't go that far into the research of finding out like if they considered this like a B team or C team or whatever. But it definitely shows like if you look at the cut, even if you look at the cutscenes between Valkyrie Profile 2 and the cutscenes of this game, there's a little bit more put into the models and stuff like that to help with those
Okay.
facial expressions. So I think that might have been part of it. But it's also, I think they were also trying really hard to keep with the anime style.
Which, I mean, they kind of, I don't know. So I haven't played Grandia 2, right? I've seen Grandia 2, but like all three of these games kind of look different to me. Like
Yeah.
they don't
They do.
all look the same. And like it's interesting because I do think that I do think it's the case where with Grandia 3 they kind of tried to go back to a lot of the things that they did in Grandia 1, right? Like we said that. And part of that is like capturing the same charm as they had in Grandia 1, it being like an adventure, stuff like that. But I do think that that was something that they kind of just completely was like, okay, we're going to go with sort of what the norm is for all of these PS2 era RPGs in terms of like how we're going to model this and everything like that, when they could have kind of leaned more into what they did for like Grandia 2, for example, right?
Yes,
Because
yeah.
at the end of the day, Grandia 2 did get ported to the PS2. So like they definitely could have just kind of stuck with a similar style as Grandia 2, but
And the
then
concept
kind of
art does
adjusted
look
it a bit.
similar to the concept art in Grandia 2. I think
Okay.
the concept artist was the same or very similar or somebody like referencing it. But you're absolutely right. The 3D portion of Grandia 2 versus Grandia 3 is very different. Grandia 3 looking more like they were trying to go for more the generic route, whereas Grandia 2 was more their own style as a 3D model.
Mhm.
Kind of idea. And I think for their art style and portion of the game, the concept art was definitely the best. Like the little pictures of the characters when they're talking
Oh
when
yeah.
they weren't in cutscenes, those I found super expressive. Like they were
Mhm.
done, like there was all kinds of different emotions and stuff. And like they had this like kind of like how Grandia 2, where they had their own style and everything. But then when you go shift to the 3D models, mostly in the cutscenes, it's kind of gone the opposite way, where it's more like generic and more like generic anime, PS2 sort of look to things. And I feel like that's where they lost a little bit of the charm aesthetically for me, is they lost the charm of the, even if they were referencing the first game, with a lot of the story and characters and stuff like that, it would have been really cool if even if they went with that bright cartoony sort of like
Yeah, I
bright
mean, I think they could
colors
have.
and
Yeah, I think they could have done that.
yeah, and you could see in the concept art, the colors are really bright and really vibrant, but when you're playing the game, they're quite dull. It looks like somebody put it through a saturation filter and like dropped it immensely. So it
Yeah,
loses a lot of that color and
that is
vibrancy.
a very good point. It is a very like
Muted game.
yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like how Valkyrie Profile 1 and 2 went from. You went from a beautiful, bright pixel game to Valkyrie Profile 2, which was very muted, very saturated, a lot of grays, a lot of muted tones where they don't have any like sort of bright vibrancy to them. I find this game has the same problem as going from like 1 and 2 being bright, vibrant colors and having a little bit more energy and life into it, to these very muted, saturated, kind of almost boring scenery that like is just nothing pops out, nothing stands out. Even the character's hair, like Yuki's supposed to have blue hair, but in a lot of the cutscenes he's got a blue gray or a blue black sort of tinge to it, and
And
it's like the blue is muted a lot.
it really confused me because I like you made the comparison to Valkyrie Profile 2. That is a very like somber game. That game is very much like from the beginning not a game where it's at all
bright
Like
and
nothing
cheery.
good is happening.
So the
Whereas
colors make sense, but this game,
exactly.
this
This
game
this
is all
starts as like you're an adventurer, you're gonna try to be a pilot. Like they're super excited, like they're super excited to like build these airplanes and try to fly them and everything. And it's like this feels like it should be a much more bright, vibrant world. And like after you get out of the main town, it doesn't really feel super bright and vibrant. So yeah, it's weird. It's definitely weird.
It's weird, yeah. And I think it has something to do with maybe even the lighting. Like I don't know if they had very good lighting with it. Maybe that was part of the problem. But even just the character models and the textures and stuff and the cutscene and stuff is just very, it's like you have this concept art with this bright blue hair. He's got this like almost like a royal blue, almost slightly towards the navy, but more of a royal. And she's got bright blonde hair and all these stuff. And then when you're playing the game, it's so muted and it's so desaturated when it's not calling for it. So, like you said, with Valkyrie Profile 2, that can get away with it because you're like, oh, this is a sad, kind of depressing sort of kind of world right now. But in Grandia 3, it's bright, chipper. Literally, the intro cutscene is the main character as a little kid watching a cheesy movie of a pilot going through all these adventures and stuff like that. And it's super cheesy, like super cheesy. But it's also kind of cute because it's like, you know, a little kid watching his favorite, like, you know, movie star or, you know, hero or whatever on the big screen. And that's what he wants to be. And he puts on his little goggles and he's like, I'll go be pilot. And it's, but the whole art just doesn't fit it. Like it's saturated and it's muted at times, and sometimes it's just like plain, like just kind of like very plain, boring sort of look. And at other times it is like when you're in the town with the casino and stuff. There's some bright colors there, but it's very hit or miss that the game has that, and it's just kind of weird that way. It's like it tries to be bright and cheerful in like a few areas of the colors, like with the one guy that comes at you right at the beginning. He's bright, like his armor's like bright blue.
Yeah.
And then you got your main character who's like super desaturated, and I'm just like, it's like two different styles kept fighting over this game. Like you have the bright colors of like the guy chasing the you know, damsel in distress, and then you get to the main character and he's like super muted colors, and the damsel's super muted. It was just weird. It was just like back and forth, these trying to be bright colors like in Grandia 1, but then not. It's like they couldn't make up their minds.
And one of the really interesting points that was just brought up in the chat is Eternal Sonata is a very depressing game. However, the colors in that game pop so well. Like that game is so vibrant.
I thought that was a happy game.
Looks incredible.
Bright and colorful.
Oh no, that game is. Don't go in thinking that game that game is not sunshine and rainbows. Not at all.
Game will wreck me emotionally. Got it. Must be.
Game
played
is
this
not
year.
sunshine and rainbows.
But yeah, so you have this like conflicting art style between the concept art to some of it being bright and cheerful, some of it not, and then a lot of muted stuff. And it just feels like they couldn't pick what they wanted. And so it gives that weird disconnect. And I found that throughout the entire game. It wasn't just at the beginning or at the start where you start off in a bright, vibrant village, and then it goes to like really like muted forest colors, and then like it just keeps going kind of back and forth and back and forth. It's like they had a lot of people doing the art and nobody coordinating. Like it just feels like everything's like kind of pulled in like four different directions of the art, and it makes it really difficult to look at that and be like, this is pretty. Because at times there was like scenery, and I was telling KJ, I was like, oh, like I would just stop, I'm like, oh, that's kind of pretty, but that was very few and far between because of this weird battle of disconnect with the art style. It just felt like nobody could like stick to one thing.
I agree. Okay, I think we've hammered home the art direction. How did you feel about the music?
I like the throw to Grandia 1. A lot of the tracks reminded me of Grandia 1. I'm pretty sure some of them were really pulled from the game and slightly arranged differently, but still from it.
Mhm.
And I honestly liked a lot of the tracks. Even the battle system that you hear for like the entire first disc, and then you get to the second disc and it changes the battle system, which is very common in
Or the
JRPGs
theme
that are
rather,
multiple
yeah.
disc. I like them. I like the battle music even hearing it a million times. In both cases. Like I did actually enjoy the soundtrack.
Same.
I feel like they fit a lot of the music to how maybe the story was going to be like more in depth and everything. So they had like the tracks in the right spots. So I feel like the OST is one of the stronger points of this game. Um,
I totally agree. I think I to echo that, like again, more of like being similar to Grandia 1, it was a case where they switched over that they have a disc 1 battle theme and a disc 2 battle theme, which is totally fine. But no, I agree, like honestly the battle theme, even though you hear it a lot because there's like a lot of encounters and stuff, I thought the battle theme was one of, if not the best track in the game. Like those are the two songs that we played in like the starting screen. Those were the battle themes, and I thought they were fantastic. Like I really enjoyed those, and I think that really helped, especially because you end up hearing those so much, right?
you do end up hearing them a lot, and it's a good thing the music was really good. I found I never like had to. The only time I turned down the volume is when I found sometimes some of the cutscenes were really loud.
Well, I didn't have that
Compare
problem.
but I might that might have been more my settings and stuff like that. So on
Okay.
my Steam Deck, so I had to turn it down a little bit for the cutscenes. But when it came to the music, I never listened to other music or anything. I just like kind of chilled and vibed with the music. I was totally fine with it.
Yeah,
Like I think
the music was good.
yeah, I think it was really strong, especially the battle theme. I think the battle theme slaps. Like it's really fun to listen to, and I was like super like right away you hear the first battle system and it's like teaching you the mechanics, and right away I was like, "Oh, this battle system has got me. Like this is going to be good."
Mm-hmm. Okay,
So
I think that's actually a pretty good segue. Let's talk about the combat system. Let's talk about the battle system as a whole. I think like it definitely sticks to a lot of the like previous Grandia sort of systems. Like you have your circle gauge, and it's a situation of like you still get the opportunity to cancel various enemy attacks and stuff like that. Like that system, I think is very, very good. And I think I'm glad that they stuck with that. I'm glad that that is something that has been consistently kept through Grandia 1, 2, 3. Like that system is awesome. One of the things that I think really stood out with this game was the aerial attacks, like the aerial combos. Like,
oh yeah, those
I thought that
great.
I thought that those were really cool. So I do have a question for you. Did you ever chain more than one of those?
Like how multiple characters would get in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, yeah.
So good.
I found that out and was so shocked. So early on they show you like, oh, if you use the critical attack, it'll knock an enemy into the air, and then like if somebody else is very close in proximity in turn, they can attack and then they'll do like an aerial combo. Mm-hmm. But then I was like fighting like one of those like mini bosses that they throw at you, and I hit it up, and two people had the ability. And I was like, this isn't gonna work. There's no way in hell this is gonna work. And I attacked with both, and it was just like combo in the air, and then somebody else came in, and I was like, oh, that's just like a full team combo. This is great. So yeah, that was really cool.
That when you got those team combos, that they would go in an order in terms of like when you had the third party member, because his combo is he smacks the enemy into the ground.
Yeah, that was the one. Yep.
He always goes last.
Yep, that's exactly what happened.
And I thought that was such a great point for technical portion of the game. That they thought ahead about it maybe chaining a few people and always put him last, even if he was the first that you clicked on to attack, he would still go last as long as there was other people being chained into it. which I thought was really cool and such a little bit of quality of life standpoint for the battle system, where it was like, okay, yeah, you definitely thought this through. Um, and it was super fun as heck to knock enemies in the air with whatever spell or whatever crit you could do, and then just like go ham on these combos. They looked
Oh
so
yeah.
cool, and the timing was so fun to try to hit, especially for those bosses and stuff like that, to try to get as many combos as you can get. Definitely had fun with the combo system in this game, and it
And I think they tied it together well with the rest of the system. So like
mhm.
I was really interested because they had like the MP and the SP, and random they were like, oh yeah, as you level up, so like you level up your magic, you level up your specials, you level up your skills, and it's like as you're leveling up specials and then you do like a regular attack, you learn a new skill, which I thought was really cool. I mean, everybody has like their set ones, so I was like, oh, this is dope. Like we get to learn different skills. I do wish that it was a little bit easier to see like where you are progression wise in terms of how close you are to like leveling up this skill level, because it didn't, or leveling up the special level, because it didn't show that. There were like
it
just
didn't ever
hidden.
show it at an experience bar. You just kind of was hoping you were getting close to
Mhm.
leveling it up. And it also
And
didn't
that
explain what caused it to level up. Because sometimes it was just I was just fighting for a while and it leveled up magic, but I hadn't even used magic in like 10 fights. And I was like, what? Like
I ended up looking it up after I beat the game, and
yeah, did they have a
apparently
system?
there is a system. So it's like if you win a battle, it's like +8 experience. So like for special, for example, if you win a battle, it's +8 experience. If you use a critical move, it's like +2 experience. And if you use a actual special, it's like +4 experience. And each level has like a set thing. And it's the same thing with like if you use magic, it's like the same type of thing. Each of them, it was like if you win a battle with that character, it's +8. So
okay.
it was. I wish that was more transparent. It doesn't even necessarily have to. We didn't even necessarily have to see it like that. But like, I feel like that was a step back a little bit in terms of from all the way back in Grandia 1, where it was like we didn't see the level at which, like we didn't see like a full progression, if I remember, of sort of like the magic or the weapons that you were using, but you got to see when you would learn things so that it helped you kind of plan things out a little bit better. So in that regard, I think that's a small nitpick. Like in general, the combat was great. I think the combat definitely, I obviously haven't played Grandia 2, but looking at Grandia 1's combat and then looking at Grandia 3's combat, you can definitely see where they evolved and where it got better. I think that's definitely the case. Again, little nitpick things, but those are more.
Yeah, I think
they're not
like
necessities
tiny enough that it's still like, oh, this still has room to grow, but
Mhm.
it's definitely improvement over 1 and 2
Oh, yeah.
actually. So I've
Okay.
played all the way through 2. I won't go too much into detail. KJ hasn't yet, so I don't want any spoilers for him. But it is an improvement. I feel like it is the most improved of this battle system throughout the series. So having played 1, 2, and 3, and then I looked up Extreme and its battle system. Extreme goes in a different direction, it looks like.
It's like a dungeon crawler, right?
Yeah, it's a dungeon crawler and it's kind of totally different. So
Okay.
so looking at it just at the 3 games, 1, 2, and 3, Grandia 1 started the battle system, started its unique kind of way of doing things, and then Grandia 2 built up on that and was
Mhm.
an improvement. And then Grandia 3, I do believe, is also an improvement over that. I do think it's the best combat system in all of the 3 games I've played.
Okay.
I think the combo system is really fun, like you said. I like that. At first, I was a little confused on how to deal with like the mana eggs and the skill books. But
Mhm.
once you kind of get the hang of that and like equipping it to your characters, you can make your characters do some real fancy stuff with those skill books.
I think
Um,
it's also cool that what they did was like I like the balance of, okay, to get the broken skills, you are definitely going to have to turn in some of these skill books. You're going to have to turn
Exactly.
in the mana eggs. So it really makes you decide. It's like, oh, well, do I want level 3? Do I want level 3 fire and earth equip to this person, or do I want the best earth and best fire spell? And then I'll just give them not necessarily that level of depth. And because of another system, specifically with the mana eggs, where how much like mana egg fusing did you do? Because there's two towns.
I was able to fuse them all.
Okay, same.
I ended up fusing them all by the end.
Same.
I had so much fun with it.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a really good touch. Them adding, like, because I kept finding a bunch of random mana eggs, and I'm like,
yes,
I already have these spells.
Why are they giving this to me? And I'm like, okay, maybe they're giving me a couple extras so that I can extract them and stuff. But then at one point I found, like, what was it? 4 aqua eggs. I was like, what? Why do I need
They just
4?
really want you to cast water spells.
Yeah, apparently. And but then eventually they give you the ability to fuse mana eggs, where you take like one mana egg and fuse it with another and make something. And it's really cool because it didn't have to match elements. So you could take a water one and you could take an earth one, fuse them together, and it might turn into like something that boosts both water and earth, which I thought that was really cool. And it just kind of keeps going from there until you make some of like the more ultimate ones. And
yeah, the ultimate ones were broken. Like, as soon as I made one of the ultimate ones, I was like, oh, I can extract magic from this. And now I have super broken spells. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm happy about that. Like, it's time
you get some pretty amazing magic out of this game with doing the mana eggs and fusing them together and extracting them. It's really, really fun. And I really like that portion of the whole combat system, tying everything together. Funny enough, right at the start, Crackle is stupid broken. And I spammed Crackle all the time. All the time. It was like my go-to move all the time to like knock people in the air, because it knocks people in the air. So I just constantly did
that did spells that knock people in the air. Yeah, that definitely, those were good to be able to tie into the freaking aerial combat system too.
Yeah, and I love that. I loved everything about this battle system. I love the mana egg thing. And I love the skill books because it really made you think about what skills to have on each character. And as you got further on and you got more skill books, you started to have to make the decision, because there's a few skill books you only get 1 of, or you only get 2 of. So you had to make the decision whether you wanted it there to boost your skills, or you extracted it to get the cool skills out of it. And same sort of thing with the mana eggs. And I thought that was a really cool upgrade to the whole battle system concept of everything for Grandia series, is because you had more control and decision on whether or not they get or don't get those skills and stuff. And I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think overall, like, you can definitely, and this is probably foreshadowing a little bit, you can definitely tell they cared about the gameplay. They cared about the combat system.
They really put their heart into it.
That might have been the only thing they cared about. But they cared about the combat.
The OST too.
No, the OST was good too, yeah. But that definitely, it was, in that regard, it was great.
Yes. The combat's really fun. It was really fun to like and each character kind of got their own, which was really cool, because like each character unlocks their own special skills that are just to them. And it took me a little bit to realize it was based on your 3 levels you could level up. So your skill, your special, and your thing. It was your special. If you leveled that up to like level 3, you'd unlock the next one of that character. And it took me a little bit to realize that's what it was doing. And then I was like, oh, shoot. Like, as soon as I was like, okay, I'm leveled up to 5 and I haven't learned a new skill yet. The next time I click attack, I'm getting that skill. Sure enough, I go to click attack and it gives me the skill. And I'm like, all right, I get it now.
Some of them weren't that consistent, though. Some of them, it was like, you're waiting 2 levels or something like that, or you get them back-to-back levels.
Every level. It felt like sometimes it was like every other level. Sometimes it was literally the next level. You would get it. It wasn't very consistent, no. I think it was trying to still keep it like you're not going to know for the first playthrough when you're going to get these skills. I think it still tried to have that little bit of mystery to it, but it was also like, sometimes I was like, okay, am I going to get anything else? Or is this character just going to stay with 2 skills? Hello? Like, it felt like I was waiting forever sometimes, especially because, like you said, it wasn't completely transparent in how you level the skill, the special, and the magic. It didn't really explain that
Mhm.
in the game or in the tutorial or anything. And like you said, you had to go like look it up and see how it actually did it. And because of that, it was like, okay, how am I going to level up this special or whatever?
So I think I know the elephant in the room is us talking about the story of this game. I know that's the elephant in the room, but there are a couple of other things I personally wanted to highlight. I don't know, and I know you have some research that you did also. So like,
Yeah.
I know we separately talked about like the weird difficulty spikes, right?
Yeah.
And when they happened, I wasn't the biggest fan, but I kind of took a step back and I thought about it. Every time there was a weird difficulty spike, it was kind of after you got access to either a new character or some like brand new set of spells or something. And so I actually kind of, now that I'm kind of thinking about it and reflecting on it, I kind of like that. Like I mean, I never want a game to be too easy.
It makes you use them. It gives you a reason to use them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about it too with those difficulty spikes. And every time they happened, it was right around the time you got a bunch of like mana eggs and skill sets that you could fuse and you extracted stuff like that. And literally the 2 times I got wiped, honestly just required me to go back, level up a little bit so I could use a particular skill or I could use a particular magic ability, go back into that fight, and then I was fine. It was cakewalk.
You went back and leveled up? Oh no. I just put my head down and was like, we're running through this wall. Head first, we're going to run through this.
You couldn't use unless you leveled up. Like, for example, some of the spells, it was like, oh, you had to, in order to like use that mana egg or whatever, you had to be like magic level 7 or whatever. So, or that book or whatever. So there was a little bit of like that. I also found it, and I kind of broke the game a little bit in the sense of like, oh, I did what it was not intended. It's very easy not to fight in this game. You attack them to knock the enemy. So you have a thing where you can run up to the enemy and attack it, and that
does not always work.
He kind of falls over, and sometimes it's a surprise attack, sometimes it's not. You have a very brief window to hit it, but I would do that and run away. I would run around it.
Wait, time out.
Run around it.
How did you do that and still end up like 4 levels higher than me by endgame?
I don't know.
I fought stuff.
Because like there was one dungeon where I didn't kill anything. Because I just wanted to progress the story. There was a whole ass dungeon. I didn't kill a single freaking enemy. It was actually kind of funny.
What?
And I still end up a higher level than KJ by the end. And he grinded.
the way that I went through, it was like I fought things and I would go to a new area, I'd fight something. If the experience I got wasn't worth the resources that I spent or the time that I spent, I stopped fighting that enemy. But I was always searching out for what gave me the most experience per time in the area, and then I'd fight everything that had that in the area. Never was I just running away from fights. And again, I still ended up 4 levels lower than you. I don't get it. Like, I don't understand. There was no dungeon
I always ran away from, and at one point there was a dungeon, like pretty well all of it was the jungle. So the jungle, I didn't kill anything. Because the majority of the enemies, not all of them, but majority of them were the birds and the damn like freaking I don't know, like lobster things. And they always summoned. So this is one mechanic of the battle system that made me upset, was they would summon allies. And in other RPGs, when they bring in more like things to make it harder, they give you more experience as kind of
that was really annoying.
But in Grandia 3, they would summon more and more enemies, making it stupid hard sometimes. Especially early game when you don't have the cool big spells yet. Especially when you don't have the area effect spells
Mhm.
or the area effect specials or whatever. They would just keep calling these enemies in over and over and over again, but you'd still get the exact same experience.
Yeah, that was really annoying. It was like they spawn other enemies.
Was full of that, and it annoyed me so much. I just avoided the entire enemy sequence in that jungle, but in the next section, I was killing everything fine because it was just the iguanas and the apes and stuff like that. So those ones were giving me hell of experience. So I was totally fine with that. But yeah, the jungle, I skipped it entirely because it was birds and those damn lobsters who all summon people constantly, making it an annoying long fight for no reason because you don't get more experience for it. So it's just like a wasted effort, and you're like 20 minutes in one battle and you're like, come on, like I don't want to do this. So
it's funny. It's funny because you kept telling me, oh, there's an area I hate. I just want you to know I full cleared the jungle. Each area in the jungle I full. There were like 3 areas in that jungle. I full cleared all of them. I fought every enemy in that damn jungle. Like, there was
this game is broken because you literally pretty well get to run away every single time. Like, I think there was like 2 times where I didn't run away initially, but I just clicked the next character to run and it ran. Or I would whack them, knock them down, everything. And that whole jungle, I was like, nah, I don't got time for this. I
you
avoided everything.
You told me that there was like a mini boss. I didn't know you could run from them. You were like, oh yeah, I just ran from that. I'm like, what? I'm like, that gave me like 3,000 experience and you just ran from it. Like, what?
In my defense, I hit that at level 12.
No. I'm not talking about the desert. I'm talking about the golems.
Oh, yeah. I definitely ran for them and then like circled around, knocked them over, and got the surprise attack on them. That's why I ran.
Meanwhile, I'm getting swarmed by like 4 golems. I game over. That was the only point that I game overed until like damn near endgame. But I was stuck there in a loop.
He was like, wait, what? Literally, I think that's what you wrote. You just wrote, wait, what? I was just about to kill the last one. And she's like, oh, you know, you can run from those, right? I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. I just spent all this damn time. Like, I was in a loop because if you fight them all, it's a gauntlet of 4 fights. It's 4 mini bosses and they only take magic damage. So if you don't have the appropriate magic set up, you're just screwed. So I was getting punched in the mouth, and Polly's over there like, oh yeah, I'm on disc 2. I just ran from these. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. You've got to be fucking kidding me. It was wild. In my defense, I did end up killing them, but I ran from them, ran behind them, smacked them, and got the surprise attack. Because you're right, it's like a full like four golems to each gauntlet. Yep. And by the time KJ got there or whatever, I think you were like killing the 3rd one, and I was like, oh yeah, did you know you could run for those? And he's like,
yo, that was
what?
That was like the craziest difficulty spike because I went from walking the game to these are immune to physical hits, and 2 of your characters are useless. Sorry.
yeah. If you didn't have magic, and if you didn't have like Yuki or Ulf leveled up with magic abilities and stuff like that to use, like that fight was like hella hard because you had like 2 characters that could do something, while those 2 just like sat there just like 20 damage. Honestly, like that part of the game was something where I was like, that's when I found out you could. So that's when I found out you could run from like those like mini surprise like things that they do to you. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, I wonder if you could do this. I did try to run from a boss fight. That was actually kind of funny. Just to test to see if you could run from everything. You cannot.
You tried to run from a damn boss fight.
Yeah, I most certainly did.
Who are you?
I was just testing mechanics, man. Like I was up to a point where I'm like, we're gonna talk about it why I was so bored, but there's aspects of it where I was just like, I'm just gonna try new things with the mechanics and just kind of push the mechanics to whatever and just have some fun with it. So it was like sometimes like I ran away from the enemies who summoned too many more because I was like, this is a waste of time. I'll just go fight something that doesn't summon enemies, and give me the same experience. And like I was trying like different mechanical things and stuff. Like when I got ambushed by those golems too, after the first fight, I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna get destroyed because like literally Yuki had some decent fire spells on him at the time, so I was okay with him. But Ulf was completely useless, and I just kind of kept having Ulf crit, but like you can't knock them in the air because they're too heavy. So it literally relied on you using magic. And so after the first one, I got hit with the second one. I'm like, can I run? So I ran and it worked. I reconfigured Ulf to have some like decent things and some magic boosting things, turned around, smacked it, got the surprise attack on it, went and fought it, and I had a way easier time. I ended up clearing them way easier because I was able to reconfigure it. So it's like little things like that. And then one boss fight, I was just like, can I run? Like, can you run and like restart this boss fight? No,
never. Never would I think to run away.
Yes, but not the main story bosses and stuff like that. No,
never would I think to run away from a boss fight ever.
I was just testing out mechanics. I was just seeing if it was possible.
That is mind-boggling to me.
It's not like it was hard up until like I think two bosses gave me trouble. 2 in the whole game.
I think
so.
Gave me trouble. I think there's one. Yeah, I think 2 bosses gave me trouble too.
Okay, yeah, so we were about even. I think they were different bosses.
The first or the last boss on disc 1 gave me trouble.
Oh right, the one where it's the the guy.
The one where they randomly are like, "Hey, all the bosses had like 4,000 HP. Now we have 2 that have different armor parts that have 8,000 apiece." And it's like, there's 4 of these with 8,000 HP. I'm like, "Oh yeah, this sucks. This sucks a lot."
Yeah, that was.
So yeah, that one, and then one of the same person. You fight them again, just by themselves, and that fight gave me trouble. I didn't actually game over at that fight though. I finished that fight with only 1 person alive, so I got fucked up experience.
Yeah, you ended up winning it.
Yeah, I got fucked up experience points, and then that carried on through the rest of my game. Like.
Yeah. It's like it punished you hard if you did a boss fight that gives you a lot of experience where a character or 2 character or 3 characters were dead. Because
which I'm fine with that. I'm fine. Like that's
because it's like it wants you to figure this out without them dying. Is more or less how it was like set up. And the more I kind of after I beat it and kind of settled down or whatever, the more I really thought about it, and I was like. They were trying to make it challenging at times and but also encourage you to use your characters and skill books and stuff and kind of mess around with it until you find something that works. And I kind of like that because it really focused you on using your mana eggs and your skill books, where a lot of the times in video games, I don't use magic at all. Because you don't have a lot of magic recovery items. In this game, like every so often you get to a save area where it fully recovers you. So like I never really had to use items except for I think the last boss fight.
Oh, you didn't use items in this? I totally used items.
I used items.
I used all of the MP items.
I didn't use any of them.
Oh, I used all the MP items because I was spamming magic.
Yeah, that's the thing. I spam magic too, but I would get to one of those like fully recover places, or I would use seeds. The seeds fully restored your MP, SP, and HP when you would use them, and I would use those periodically if I didn't get to a save point before I thought there was going to be a boss when I had been spamming magic for so much.
I didn't
doing the SP moves.
I didn't use almost any of the SP stuff until like super late game. I was saving it because I was like, this will come in handy in case of an emergency, and it did. The final boss fight, I used almost all the SP stuff I had.
Yeah, I
So
used all the seeds that I had left over. I think I had like 8 seeds, and I used them all in that end boss fight. Yeah.
I think I had like 2 or 3 left over, but yeah, I definitely that was definitely a boss fight where I was like, fuck it. Not gonna save any items. Can't take these with me,
Can't
and
take
I'm
these with you. Yeah, and that
even
was
if
my
there's a new game
mentality in the
plus, I'm
last
not
boss
playing it.
fight.
So
It was the one time I used items like extensively. All the other times I didn't feel like I needed them. From the odd occasion I would use a revive. Odd occasion to use a revive, but any of the MP items even I never used them, even though I
oh yeah,
used
see
like
I
crackle and heal all the time. I didn't even use healing items because I was using magic to heal all the time.
I was using magic to heal as well. It basically depended on like because I didn't give resurrect to everybody, so it was a case of who had resurrect, and if that person was dead, then I had to use a healing item.
Resurrect was OP because it fully restored you every time.
Yeah.
But seeing that cutscene over and over then started to drive me mad.
I do wish you could turn the cutscene, the battle
animations,
animation
yeah.
cutscenes off, because those got to be kind of painful, especially the magic ones, especially if you were continuing to use the same magic.
Yeah, one of the quick quality of life upgrades I would do if they ever remastered this game was, yeah, exactly. They would be a way that you could like press a button and skip it. Because it was cool the first couple times you'd see the animation and you'd see really the heart that they put into like making it kind of fancy or whatever. And that's fine. But after the first couple times you see it, you're done with it. And when you have to sit there, especially in a bad boss fight where you have to resurrect a lot and you have to sit there for the 10 to 15 to 20-second animation to finish before you could do anything every time, and it's like, oh, just let me skip this, please. Like they let you skip cutscenes, which I told KJ, which he was like, wait, what?
Yeah, but you have to turn it on. You have to turn on the ability to skip cutscenes. That made me so mad. That made me so angry. Why isn't that just a default thing?
Cutscene button, but it's not default on. It's not default on. And
I was so annoyed.
When I told him, I'm like, yeah, there's a skip cutscene. He's like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, it was in settings. He's so upset. And it was just little things like that where, like, I think going back over it would make quality of life playing the game way better.
Oh, agreed.
Being able to skip those long animations and stuff like that. Having the skip cutscenes just activated automatically. Like, come on. That was a weird one to not have just working all the
yeah, and it was one of those things. It was one of those things where like my game froze, so I had to reload, and I'm just like, I watched like 10 minutes of cutscenes. My game froze. Now I have to watch the 10 minutes of cutscenes again, and that was when you had said that it was in the menu, it was in the options that you could skip, and I was like, oh, okay, because like I had looked at the options when I first started, but I guess I just skipped over the skip cutscenes one because I thought that would just be a button that's built in, like
yeah,
the game came out in like 2006. Like that seems like a reasonable thought.
Hey, at least we were able to skip them at all, because some of these old games definitely didn't let you skip it, and it's just like, which
you're not wrong.
When you would die.
You're not wrong there.
Yeah, at least we could, but you're absolutely right. The fact that they gave us the ability to do it, it should have just been on by default.
Yeah.
And the only reason I found it at all was, I think it was like when we started using the magic and having those animations all the time, I was looking for a way to skip them. So I was like in the settings, being like, maybe I can like skip these or something. And then I saw the skip cutscene button, and I was like, oh, why is this default off? And it says in big bold letters being like, oh, you might miss the story, so don't skip the cutscenes by accident.
What story?
Thank you.
I think
okay. I think we've danced around on enough, and I think
we have danced around it.
Good aspects of the game and all that sort of stuff. I think we need to go into the hard stuff. The hard stuff that's gonna like. We're sorry. We're so sorry, because the battle system was really fun, and it's
the
just
battle
so
system was so good, and then the story hits, but it doesn't hit. Like, I don't know. I think one of the biggest things that stood out to me was this game went from, again, it tried to copy Grandia 1 in the sense of like it goes from adventure, like want to do all these things, and like in the background you're trying to sort of solve the evil plot, to like kind of like a love story almost by the end, and I'm just like, no. And my biggest problem with that is like throughout that they're also incorporating various characters that aren't in your party, and those characters that aren't in your party get a little bit of screen time, but it's like they try to make you care about these characters, and
yeah,
it's like I will say, I'll preface this because I am about to drop some spoilers. So anybody that does care about spoilers and does not want to be spoiled, just giving you a heads up. Feel free to mute or anything like that. But we are going to jump into some spoilers because I do. That this is like something I feel like really needs to be addressed.
Yeah,
so,
100%. I think I know where you're going with it.
So there's multiple different characters that. So like in the very beginning of the game, you meet like Yuki's best friend, and you meet like there's like his mom, who's kind of like his sister, but is also his mom. It's weird. They have like a brother sister. Okay. They have a brother sister relationship, but she's his mom.
She looks the same age. I thought they were siblings.
It's really strange, but like, hey, whatever. It is what it is. But like, you have her. You have another party member that you pick up in the game, and those characters just like kind of disappear. Like you do see like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, the world might be ending. Why are these capable fighters just gone? Like the best friend, he ends up showing up later on to like help out with stuff
at
the very end. But like, why are all of these capable people just they decided like they just disappeared? Like it doesn't make any sense to me. And
they
then
never explain in good detail why. Like Rots, he's just like, I'll meet you at the mainland. And I'm like, why are you leaving? Like, what? How are you leaving? How are you? What? Like, there's no way to explain. And then he just disappears. And then you see him at the end of the game. And you're like, what?
It's... What? And oh my goodness. And again, we are going to continue to talk about spoilers.
Yeah, we have to. It's the only way to explain the story.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Story?
Yeah, seriously. But okay, so like you get quite a few mysterious characters in this game. Right?
Yep.
And they try to make you feel for these characters. But you cannot legitimately the backstory is like, oh, one of these characters is in love with another character that you do get backstory and like some more character development for. And it's like, that's not enough for me to give any fucks about this character if you kill them off. It's not. Oh no, this character that was in my party was in love with this other character. I don't know anything about their backstory. All I know is that they have some prior relationship, and now I'm supposed to feel bad when like, huh?
Because they never give you any substance of the character. Ever. Like, in any of these characters and any of this entire game, they never give you the meat. They never give you the meat of the character that makes you care. Like they don't build anything up. They don't give you they have their characters who have their designated anime tropes, but like that's about it. Like there's no like they have the mysterious character, but that you never find what he's doing, and then he sort of connects to one of your party members, but like it never actually even talks a little bit about like them growing up or them meeting or anything. It doesn't give you the meat on any of the characters the entire game.
Nope.
But it wants you to care. And it's like there's nothing here for me to care like about. And it's like you're missing half the story. Like half the story's missing from this game.
It just felt like they didn't do anything with, and then like I feel like the characters would have been cool.
Game deceive you because it feels like you're building up to something, and it does feel like people have substance. Like Miranda, your sister mom, has a lot of personality. Has a lot of personality. She like tries to like kick a box over top of you and crush you with it. Like she tries to like hijack your plane and then ends up making it crash, and like by sneaking on board of it. And apparently the plane can't hold two people, and all this other crap and stuff like that, which is weird because he built it with his friend, like that they never intend to fly together. Like I don't know. Anyway, but there's like a lot of little humor bits, and it definitely made me feel feel like it was Grandia 1 with the same idea where it's like Justin's mom in the first game is very similar, very feisty, like
Mhm.
gonna beat him with a spoon kind of idea. Like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, there's some like humor here, and the first 8 hours of the game is very deceiving that way because it does have all of this potential and it does have all this like ramping up, like you know Yuki and Alfina, the main two characters, like touched hands accidentally, and then they're in opposite ends of the room when his mom comes in, and like stupid,
It's
silly stuff like that. That still was starting to like give you. I mean, yeah, it was kind of giving away the main thing, but like it was also giving you something of these characters. And then as soon as your mom and her and Yuki's new daddy disappear,
nude. A random character that tried to con you out of money,
yeah, the character tried to con you out of the character, like your money, and your mom hated. Somehow becomes your mom's like new lifeline. It's very fucking weird. Anyway, as soon as they leave, it's like a whole different game.
Which
Like-
I felt like that at least was fine because that felt like it was like, okay, we're kicking off the training wheels. It's now no more tutorial, and you have 2 party members, and like you're starting fresh. So that was definitely how that felt. But I feel like I don't know. I really struggled with all of that because it's like those characters weren't just gonna do like you had 2 very sort of strong personality characters. Those characters weren't just gonna do nothing while like the world was going to shit.
Yeah, especially when her baby boy is going to be right in the fucking middle of it. Like they just disappear entirely. And that's where I started to feel like as soon as they leave the party, it kicks off like now you got to kind of like start thinking for yourself and everything with the gameplay. But it also at that point never has the substance back. It doesn't have the goofy antics anymore. Like when you first meet Ulf, he like bites you in the arm and it never explains why.
It was so weird. I was like, why did this character just bite him? That's
never explained why or whatever. Just this weird sort of jarring like sort of thing. And then as soon as you like make the decision of like helping Alfida or whatever, flying her to wherever, and build the plane that can only hold 2 people. So of course your mom's gonna get left behind. You don't have room for her. Like, although part of me was like, you have a ship, like just follow in the ship. But anyway, but no, they leave or whatever, and it's okay. Yeah, she's letting her son go off on his own and like do his own thing. But it never picks up again from that point. It never gives you enough substance or personality of any of the characters to make you want to care about any of them or care about the story, and they never explain a lot of things that happen in the story. It's just kind of there and it's just happening. Like they don't build anything up, they don't ramp anything up, and it gets to a point where they just make characters that you've been fighting repeatedly in boss fights just disappear and you never see them again.
Yo, the fact that homeboy with the like
the big
metallic arm just doesn't show up at endgame confused the fuck out of me. He's in a cutscene.
He's in one of the end cuts.
He's in a cutscene. Yeah, he's in a cutscene where like
disappears.
And never do we hear about him again. Like
they never mention him or anything. He just disappears. He's in a cutscene where he's like, "Oh, I don't know how I feel about this anymore," and they all just ignore him. Nobody answers him. And then the cutscene's over, and you keep going through, and you keep going up this tower, battling all the like people's his minions and stuff like that. This guy just disappears.
Yeah, they just wrote him out the end. They wrote him out of the last like 6 hours of the game.
Ending.
Straight up,
he just disappears.
Yeah,
legitimately.
They could have at least had like a cutscene where like he turned to glass. Like they did that to damn near everybody else. So like, why not?
Or him just piecing out. Like he's like leaving and he's like, "Nah, I'm not gonna fight you. I'm out." And like he just leaves the tower or something. That'd be hilarious. But like, no, he just straight up disappears.
Yeah.
And I messaged KJ after we both beat the game, and I was like, did I miss this? Maybe I just kind of like zoomed in the game. Did I miss this ever happening? And he's like, nah, he just disappeared. And I was like,
Yeah, he's in the cutscene that you get like before you get into sort of like where the final boss gauntlet is, and then he just disappears. Like you fight his like partner in crime, and like you fight her, but then like he's just gone. I'm like, what the like.
Yep. And
it's
he's
wild.
the one right at the beginning who's chasing Alfina, where they never actually explain why he's chasing. And he's just chasing you. And he's the one that they give you a tutorial on how to learn the gameplay mechanics with canceling enemies and canceling their attacks. And he's just goofy the whole time. Like he gets egg on his head and he falls into a pit and like all this stupid shit. And then you fight him in another battle with him and another one of the minions or whatever they're traveling with. Again, they don't ever explain anything. Apparently that minion was in love with the brother of Alfina, and it's just really fun. They never explain anything or any backstory or anything to give you any care whatsoever. But yeah, so you do that fight, and then they both jump off a cliff, and then you see them in the main tower with the other bad guys together. He's there.
Yeah.
And you fight everybody else.
Or at least you have some, at least if you don't fight them, you at least have some like explanation as to what happened to them.
Yes. Yeah.
He's the only one.
The teacher guy, he's like the only one you don't end up fighting. But they gave you substance as to why. This guy just straight up just disappears. Like I think they forgot to do something with him and keeping it like they probably had a boss fight with him and they just forgot to put it in the game or something like that. And it just got forgotten entirely. And then I just kept like watching the ending credits being like, is he gonna be here? Is he gonna be here? And he was like never mentioned or never seen again. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
And like 90% of this, after the first few hours of the game, after you do the thing, going forward, there's a lot of that happens in this game where they have these characters where you want more from them and you never get them. Like Ulf was one of the better characters in the game in terms of his mechanics, and his style looks like identical from a character in the first game.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Like he's like he's like the Wish version of Rap in Grandia 1. Like, but like he was
Rap
the
at
one
home.
I wanted to know more about, and you kind of get a little bit about him of like how he left his tribe, but it's never like fully like gone into depth of why.
It's basically just like
I just
he
wanted
believed
to see the world. And
yeah, he's like I wanted to see the world, so I
reason.
left. And the part that made it worse is like I thought that there was going to be more development there. You get to that town and it's like he's like, "Oh yeah, like they aren't going to let you in." I'm like, "Okay, we're about to get like thrown in jail. We're about to learn a bunch of stuff." And then the Guardians just like let them in. And then there's nothing else. It's just like, "Let them in. Here's my power." What?
Yeah.
Like, how is that a thing? It felt like they were leading up to everything they were going to do with Rap, like they did with Rap in Grandia 1. And then, we got the dollar store version of that. It was like, bruh, how did you, like...
This is Grandia 1 this is Rap at home.
Exactly. Like, it drove me nuts. And I felt that way about basically every character. Like
Yuki accomplishes his dream in the first 3 hours and no longer has a personality. Like he's the main character of the stupid game and he has no personality past the first 3 hours of the game.
Yeah, like after that he's just like, we've got to help Alfina, which also completely fucked with me because every time they said Alfina, all I could hear was, "Alfina, lend me your power." That's all I heard every time they said Alfina from there on out. I was just like, I can't get Lunar out of my head.
It's the way they said her name a lot that I was like, it made me think of Lunar so much. It was like so close to sounding the same at sometimes when they would like yell her name and like he was like, "Alfina!" And I was like, "Let me your power."
Yeah,
like,
I could not get that out of my head at that point. I was just like, nope. And I was just like, I just have to accept that I'm gonna every now and again think of that. Like it's just gonna happen.
Yeah, and they start off Alfina as this central thing where they're kind of giving me Grandia 2 vibes with her. And then they keep calling her a communicator and that she's special and everything. And you're like, okay. The gods communicate with everybody. She's supposed to be this bridge of communication between like the people and the gods. But the gods can talk to you. And they do. They talk to their own people. And
it's
like
not
half
even
the
like
they're not even talking to her.
Yeah. I thought that the communicator thing was going to be, I thought it was going to be the same thing. Because, like, you're running around, and it was poorly explained that this was how it was going to go, but you kind of just got the hang of it. Like, you're running around to the different gods, getting their power, whatever. And it was the case that I thought, like you said, you're the communicator. So, like, you're going to be talking to, like, she's going to be the one that's interacting with them. But, like...
After the first one? Nope.
Yeah, it just...
Literally,
they
the
were
second
just like...
one just talks to Yuki.
Yeah, exactly. Like...
I was like, okay. Oh, and then tells Alfina... Or no, the first one talked to her, and they do this whole ceremony thing. Okay, so they do this whole ceremony for her to like get all dressed up and all pretty like, and talk to the gods. And at first, like after
I forgot that
interaction,
happened. I'm not gonna lie.
What's that?
It was so unimportant. I forgot it happened.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
gonna be honest.
Because she says, and they're like, believe in love, and she's like, okay. It's like, you gotta believe in love, and then the god
Don't forget to love your brother.
Don't forget, yeah. Don't stop loving your brother. And she's like, what? And then literally watches her brother kill this god, literally cutting its head off right in front of her. And then she's like whisked away by the main character to safety, suddenly changes out of her fancy outfit in like between two cutscenes. It's real fucking weird. Like, so you go one cutscene and she's in the fancy outfit, and the next cutscene where they're
it was like some off-scene Sailor Moon shit.
Outfit.
It was some off-scene. It was like some off-scene Sailor Moon shit. She was just immediately back in her regular outfit, ready to fight.
Yeah. And I was inspecting that dress because I thought the dress was kind of neat. I was expecting it. I'm like, there's no way she was hiding that underneath it. Like even her hair was different. Like her hair was all done up in like buns and shit. Like it was very Sailor Moon, like in her princess gown kind of outfit. And then suddenly she's just the next cutscene. You see them in the thing, and she's in her outfit again. I'm like, what? Are they just expecting us not to like remember this? Like this literally was but like 5 seconds. And then after that interaction with a god, all the other gods talk to you and their own people.
Yeah.
They tell their people not to like to let you in and to not harm you. And I'm going, you gods can clearly talk to your own people. What the hell do you need a communicator for?
But like, and I mean, they did kind of explain that the communicator was supposed to be like the bridge between worlds. But I feel like it was a little bit of a stretch. Also like
when they were talking to people and stuff, I think they could have built that a little bit differently in terms of like they only spoke to the communicator, or the communicator was the only one who could speak their language, or something that made it so that they were needed. Because Alfina was just never needed for 95% of the game in terms of the story. But she was the central person that your main character and everybody was doing everything for. So it's like, how am I supposed to care about this girl and her thing when she's just like entirely useless? And then they never give you the backstory between her and her brother until later, quite late into the game. And it's like, I honestly think they should have started you off as Alfina as the main character, where you start off with building this relationship with her brother.
I think it should have started off, now that you say that, like, it could have started off with you using her to, like, escape. That would have been a good way. Like,
yeah, that would have explained why she was running, because that wasn't really clear ever. And why she was like kind of like running away or going to a thing or whatever, being stopped and stuff. You could literally start it with her. And it could have started with a little flashback of her and her brother and being like, oh, I wish you were still here. I don't know where you are. But blah,
like
blah,
the
blah.
flashbacks that you get at like 25, 30 hours into the game.
Yes. Yeah. That made me mad that you basically get that in the last like 5 hours of the game. You finally get to see her brother go kind of psycho, and why it kind of sort of made sense. It still didn't really make sense, but it still kind of sort of like gave you something for him of why he's kind of weird.
Hmm.
Um, but like you don't get to learn that until like you're 5 hours away from beating the game. And I'm going, we could have had that at the very beginning, building up Alfina's character, and then having the spontaneous Yuki running into her sort of thing, and then him wanting to be a pilot. They could have built that up a little bit better, and he could have just been always the one supporting, like being there and sort of like just instantly kind of thing. Like they could have just kept, they could have even just kept Yuki the same if they would have
Hmm.
started off with Alfina and building up that stuff. I'm okay with Yuki being more of a hollowed character if they gave us a main character, the other one, which is the Alfina as the second
Hmm.
main character thing, more of a like substance and build up for her. And then she goes from like being somewhat independent but still needing help, like obviously needing help, but like being like, no, I'm gonna do this, like this is my decision. And she's like fighting with Raven at the start of the game, and
That's
he's
his
like, are
name,
you
Raven.
sure? Like that scene never makes sense, by the way. It just doesn't make sense
Yeah.
to me that he's like trying to stop her from seeing the god. Like it's never really explained why he's trying to stop her. But she's like, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna go on the way. And I'm like, oh, this girl's got a bit of backbone. And she loses it within like, as soon as you go to the temple and meet the guardian for the first time, all of a sudden she becomes incredibly whiny and is crying and whining for the majority of the game from there on. Like she just like Amelia's cry, and I'm like, why are you crying? There's no reason to cry right now. Like why? Like there's just so many times where she just starts crying, and I'm like, um, are we supposed to care? Like it felt so bad. Like
Yeah.
it's like they changed her character halfway through. Like it's like it almost feels like they never could like coherently like land on an idea and flesh it
Honestly,
out.
I think the biggest thing, I think they were planning on hitting us with a bait and switch with her as the character. At that, you're like, you think she's gonna be in the character, and then they're like, but wait, no, there's actually gonna be this character. That's what I thought they were gonna do. But the problem is, they do that. Like, again, like 25 to 30 hours into like a 35-hour game.
That part made me so mad.
I knew that was gonna trigger you. They just like they pave the groundwork for you to basically. There's two different characters that they could have basically said, okay, we're gonna swap her out for another character, and
The
it
whole
felt like
game,
they
they're
were
just,
gonna
like,
do that.
building up, being like, oh yeah, they're gonna take her away. Like this
It
this
felt
is
like that
we're playing Grandia. Of course they're gonna do it.
It felt like that the entire game. And I was like, I got to a certain point, I was like, oh no way, they're not gonna do it. And I got to what could have been considered the final boss, right? Like I think that part would have felt like the final boss to some people.
Yep.
It wasn't.
I'm gonna just say it right now. It was done better than the final boss.
I agree.
The battle was hard, and you had to really pay attention because you had three things go like. Okay, so it's like the boss fight. It's him, and then his orb is its own thing, and his sword's its own thing, and then you have the Godslayer sword. And if you ever let that reach the end, it's an instant game over. So
oh yeah, when I saw it had
constantly watch that and cancel it before it gets anywhere close to the end. Or
when I saw that it had maxed out HP, I was like, I'm not even gonna attack this. I'm attacking everything else, and I'm just gonna fucking cancel that shit. I didn't even know what it did. I just assumed it was bad news. I was like, I'm all set. Nope, hard pass.
It starts off. It tells you it starts off right away. It gives you that little blurb being like, this is what killed Raven. Instantly, it's literally what it said.
I didn't even see that.
And it comes up with like a little bubble message above the thing before you click attack. But maybe if you click attack too quick, it goes away. So maybe when you click
yeah, I didn't even click attack on it. I literally just, like I said, it was anytime I saw it, I was like, anytime it started moving and got past halfway, I'm like, cancel that shit immediately.
Yeah. So it tells you that it's going to be like an end game sort of thing. And of course, after I did the fight, I looked it up and I was like, oh yeah, as soon as you let it go to the 0, it would have wiped out your party.
Okay.
So
That's
I was
fair.
like, oh, interesting. But every time it got to about halfway, I always had Donna cancel it.
Okay,
I did
I
her
just
crit
whoever
and
was
just
closest just canceled it for me.
Yeah.
But honestly, I did not expect them to then hit us with the we're gonna swap in a new character at
Yep.
that point.
hmm
Like
And
we
not even a
basically got
character to swap in for very long.
they
That's what
they
pissed
did
me
it
off
for
the most.
you got the character legit for most of the final dungeon. Up
Mhm.
until you got the character up until the final boss. So from you got
It's
they
ridiculous.
gave you a different character for one dungeon. Why? Why
Yep.
even do it at that point?
Yeah, it's like they were trying so hard to be Grandia 1, where Grandia 1 did the same thing, but they did it early enough in a lot of cases that it wasn't like it was still frustrating because you built up this character for so long just for them to
Mhm.
go, but it at least wasn't end game that they did that in. They literally took away Alfina, gave you another character for 2 hours, and then you get to the end boss and they're like, here's Alfina back. You don't even get to use this new character. You don't even get a choice. You get Alfina. And she's the same level she left.
No, they leveled her up.
Oh no, they leveled up her up. Yeah,
They
you're
leveled.
right.
They gave
But
her the same.
her
They
skills
made her
weren't
the same
leveled up.
level as the other character. So
yeah.
whatever level the other character was,
Yes,
that's the
right.
level
They
you got
did
her back.
do the carbon copy
Yeah.
of the hack thing, but with the new character they gave you, you were like leveling up her skills because I thought in my brain, okay, this is gonna be my end party, so I kept trying to like level up her skills and have her attack more because I wanted her to have like the where she can cancel enemies right away and bypass
Mhm.
the bar and stuff like that, like they had for every other character. They do that for 2 hours. You get to the end boss. Before you even fight them, they give you Alfina back and they take her away, and you're just like, shit, like Alfina still needs. I don't have all her abilities yet. Like I didn't have all of her like moves.
Yeah, and that's
stuff
what
like
I did.
that.
I went and I basically went and I like as soon as I got her back, I was like, okay, I'm gonna see if they leveled up her abilities or anything like that. And I basically I grinded out like a level, and then I was like, all right, it's time to fight the final boss.
And I think I figured out what they did. So, and it came from what a comment Peastone made about Grandia 1 feeling like a 90s kids cartoon show. It dawned on me that they were trying to, in some weird way, recapture that
Charm.
90s kid
Yeah,
cartoon
for
show
sure.
from the
For
first
sure.
game. And they
Yeah.
made it like it was for kids in a way. Like they were going, even though the audience that they would attract were way older, but it just definitely felt like the hollowed out characters, the hollowed out plot. Kids don't care about that sort of stuff when they're little, right? And like Grandia kind of has that like goofy sort of kids charm or whatever.
Mhm.
And sort of like maybe like a 10-year-old sort of thing could play it. And Grandia 3, I think they were trying to do the same thing, but the problem is they completely missed the target of their age group, because we had where Grandia 1 came out, there was a lot of like 10, 11, 12-year-olds playing it.
But
And then
people are gonna
Grandia
grow with the
2
series.
yeah. And they kind of grew up. Grandia 2 was a little bit of a different kind of plot line and a little bit more like more mature and more into the teenage sort of thing. And you're like, okay, it's evolving. But then you get to Grandia 3 and they go all the way backwards. Even though the
Mhm.
age group of the people playing these games and going up to it aren't kids anymore. They're probably adults, if not teenagers. And we need more than just trope reactions of characters with no story and no backstory of these characters to give you any sort of care for them. Whereas kids don't necessarily need that. Like a lot of the times when I'm watching like shows with like my nephews when they were little,
Mhm.
they wouldn't understand the plot. They wouldn't understand really the characters. They would just laugh at the goofiness of things. Like the
Yeah.
start of the game really had that, where the guy gets egg all over his face because the old lady like beats him with the bag,
And he
and
falls
like
into the pit and stuff like that. And
he
gets,
falls
yeah.
into the pit, and you find the ship cap in a barrel,
In a barrel,
and
yeah.
like. And then Yuki basically calls his mom fat, and like these these stupid like things where like kids would have lost their shit laughing at it.
Mm-hmm.
But like it lost everything else trying to appease to children. And honest to God, with that battle system, I don't think I'd want my my kids probably would have kids would probably rage quit. Like little kids. I'm talking
Yeah, I
about like
think
a demographic felt more like it was like Grandia 1, where it was like an age of like 10 years old. And I'm going,
mhm,
the battle system got hard at times. It would have been really difficult. So it's like they had the battle system made for those growing up with the series and being the age to use it. But then they had the story and characters back with like little kids are playing it. And I
yeah.
feel like they just didn't figure out what they wanted there. And I think that's what happened with why the characters and everything disconnected, because kids don't care about that sort of stuff, or necessarily they generally don't. Like they might pick up on a few little things, but young kids are just looking for something to fun and entertaining to watch or play, and they don't
Mhm,
necessarily like super like process that character doesn't have this whole fledged out story, whereas the
mhm.
adult watching the kid play the game is going, why the heck are they doing that shit? Like this doesn't make any sense. And that literally was how I felt throughout the entire game.
I
I felt like the adult watching the kids game and going, why in the heck is it doing all this? Except for the portions that were very obviously not for kids, which was like the battle system, like the things that you could do with like the magic and everything was a little bit more
mhm.
complex. And I'm going, what? And that's why Grandia 1 did so well, is because the battle system was pretty evenly paced, and even though it was made for more for the kids aesthetic thing, it still had enough of development of the characters and everything like that
Yeah.
anybody could enjoy it.
Mhm. I
Because
totally
you
agree.
and
Even
I
the
played it
characters
for the
that
first time in 2022 and still really loved and enjoyed it.
even the characters that weren't necessarily in the party for all that long, or even characters that were just like enemies or stuff like that, they had those characters, and you really got to feel more for those characters and get more development for those characters that like you had like the sisters, you had the freaking like the evil henchman guy that was with the sister with Fina's sister, and it was like you get more of a feel for all these different characters, even if they're not in your party. Like they're getting enough screen time that like you're really enjoying those characters as well, or like at the
Yes,
very
exactly.
least you don't have to give a shit about the characters, but at least they're pushing the story, right?
Yeah, and they're giving you substance to those characters where they're just not this mysterious thing that never gets explained. And one thing like about Emilius being like one of the main bad guy
Yeah.
sort of direction throughout the whole game is that you never know anything about him until like the last 5 hours of the game. And in that freaking cutscene where it's a flashback to a kid, he looks identical to Dan from Xenogears, and I couldn't unsee it because they pushed his hair so far back that his forehead was really
Forehead was
high. And
mm-hmm.
and he was very jarring looking, and I was like, I couldn't unsee it. So I was literally laughing through that whole cutscene where it's literally him becoming unhinged, and you finally figure out a little bit why he's doing what
Mm-hmm.
he's doing. You still don't get the full story. And like and then suddenly they were like, oh no, it's it like they give you him as a thing that he's trying to awaken the guardian. They never explain why the guardian was sealed. They just like all the guardians didn't like it and sealed it, and then they allude to like those guardians were wrong, and like there's just so much shit here that they like did not finish. It feels like
I would have
an
liked to see them flesh
unfinished
that out a
story.
lot more.
Yeah. I feel like if they ever were to redo this game, they would have to remake it, not remaster it,
I
and
agree.
give us a freaking story. Like it just felt like they had so many ideas, they never like followed through on any of them, and they just kind of hoped you wouldn't notice or that you'd be too young not to notice. Is
I
how it
think
felt.
it's one of those things where, and I'll make this is a this is going to be a criticism that a lot of people are going to be angry about, but it felt very similar to, we'll say, how in Final Fantasy X you're just bouncing around to get each different Aeon. It felt like that almost,
But the
but
whole game.
the entire, like, yeah, pretty much the entire game, and there wasn't any like character building or dialogue or any of that much leading up
going
to
on.
those events. It just felt
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
you were going to get the Aeon. Like, it literally just felt like the process of going to get the Aeon. It's like the process of going to the Guardian. That's it.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
it was...
You're right. If Final Fantasy X was just that, without like the character building and story and like ramping up to anything, people would have hated 10.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They would have never followed through with finishing it or
I mean, people already say it's a hallway simulator. I mean,
Exactly.
it is very
They were all. That's
hallway.
already a complaint of the game. So when you have it, like basically that portion of the game that is more of like very linear, more of an aspect where you're just like, okay, that is basically all of Grandia 3. You just keep expecting it to have something and give you something and more depth. And I actually went back, like after I beat the game, I had loaded up one of my earlier save files before I went to the final dungeon, and I ran around talking to NPCs. Some of the NPCs did give you a little bit more of the story, but there was absolutely no reason to talk to them the entire game. They
See, I
never give you a
started
reason to talk to NPCs.
I started talking to the NPCs in the beginning, and I was like, they're not giving me anything. This is like, I'm not getting anything from these characters. I'm gonna stop doing this.
Yeah.
And that's really it.
And I did the same thing as you. I talked to a few of the NPCs. I went into some houses looking for some chests, basic RPG stuff.
Yeah, RPG,
looting,
your RPG
robbing
instincts
people.
kick in. Yeah.
Robbing the people, the thing you do in JRPGs. And I was talking to them and stuff, but you're right. At the first few hours of the game, they give you nothing. And so I just stopped talking to them because I was like, well, this is pointless. And there's no reason for me to go into these houses. Even when you go into the glass world, like there's so many houses where they weren't connected to like the magic shop or the guild shop or the inn. Even the inn was useless. Because like you just go to the save sphere and it would just recover you. So
yeah, the inns were literally just to push progress to say it's the next day.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's like, okay, in what world are you going to an inn in an RPG and you're not resting there and like gaining your health? This is weird.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, but halfway through the game, they expected you to suddenly talk to the NPCs because the NPCs started giving you some of the plot. They kind of talk, like if you talk to all the bishops and stuff like that in the church, they actually talk about Emilius.
Oh, okay.
But it's still not enough. Like it's still not enough to give you like super substance to care. But in the same reason, if you talk to all the people in the desert village, they also start dropping hints about Raven and tell you a little bit.
I did talk to the people in the desert village. That's actually how I found out about the optional like mini boss that you fight in the desert. Because the guard tells you...
I just ran into him by accident.
Oh, no, I didn't run into... The guard tells you that he might... that there's, like, the desert... whatever is in the... like, the person's in the southwest part of the desert. So I just walked up in there and was like, oh, there's a big-ass monster, like, sand lion griffin thing. And then I killed it and got, like, 4K experience and 4K, gold, and I was like, hell yeah. Luckily, I didn't run into it when you did at like level 12.
Yeah, I was like level 12, and I was like, oh shit!
I was like level 23 when I got there. I was like level 23 when I got there. I was like, I'm gonna fuck this thing up. And then I was like, all right, we're getting money.
Because I was like, I hit him at level 12. Like I was running around the desert trying to find chests, and there he was. And I was like, ooh, big boy. I'm gonna go after the big boy. And so
mistakes were made.
And fight him, and I get a surprise attack on him, and I'm super excited. And I send Yuki out to attack, and he's like, 1 damage, and I was like, oh no, regrets made. And he like doesn't move. He like kills like 3 out of my 4 party members, and I'm like, run away. So like flee, I run all the way back to the village, resurrect everybody, heal everybody back up, and I'm like, nope. And then I forgot about it. I thought to myself, oh, I should come back here at some point and fight it. Maybe it'll give me something cool. And I completely forgot because...
Oh no, I totally, like, it didn't really give anything cool, but it gave 4K gold. And I was like, oh, that is easy. That is
as soon as you told me that,
money.
I was like, aw, shit.
Especially because at the point where I was at, I had like super crazy spells, so I was just casting it. Basically, I could cast 1 round of magic and basically kill it. So,
yeah, Yeah, so it's like, so it expected you to talk to some of the NPCs, but at times it just never gave you anything. Never
Yeah.
gave you anything, never gave you any plot. There were like I said, I had loaded it up and I was like, okay, and I ran around and talked to like people in the snow village and stuff like that, and they like alluded to things and they like suggested things and stuff, and I was like, did they really expect us to talk to NPCs but never giving us really a reason to talk to NPCs? Like,
I mean, the
it
biggest
just
problem again is that I started talking to NPCs in like the first 2 or 3 towns. They didn't give me nearly enough information. So I was like, okay, talking to NPCs in this game must be pointless. And then I just stopped. So by the time I got to the desert, I wasn't talking to NPCs. I was like, fuck this. I went to the magic shop. I went to the skill shop. I went to the general store.
Yep.
And then I went to the inn to either push progress or save. And that was that.
That was it. You wouldn't go in any other houses. You wouldn't talk to anybody else because there was no point to do it.
Yeah, you couldn't loot. You couldn't loot.
You couldn't
Like,
loot.
it sucked.
You never got any items past like one character in the starting village. Gave you an item if you talked to them. They're like, "Oh, Yuki, I want to help you in your journey." And
Oh
they give
yeah,
you,
they
like,
did. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, and then after that, never again. And I was like, okay, I just stopped talking. And then the one time you do the casino, apparently with that like mini game with the casino,
You can go
with
back to it, I
cards,
heard.
you could go back to it to get some stuff, but it took me a while to figure out how to play the mini game.
It tells you in the book. If you look in the manual, it tells you how to play it in the
Oh,
manual.
it does tell you in the
Yeah.
manual? Okay, that's one thing I wanted to confirm with you, and I never actually just
it does
reached
tell
out
you in the
'cause I
manual.
just got, like, I figured it out, kind of like I figured out majority of the mechanics, and I was winning there for a little while, but then I just kind of moved on with the game, and I forgot to ask you if it was because I couldn't, like, I've had
Apparently-
this since I was a kid, so I don't know what happened to my manual that was in
Got
here,
it.
but hopefully I find it. It's probably somewhere in a box.
But yeah, I did end up looking up. You can play that you can fly back there, play that mini game, and get like the best skill book in the game.
Yeah, it's behind like 999,999 medals, and I was like, I'm not playing this for that long.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah, it's literally you could get the best skill book in the game, and it's like 1,000,000 medals. And I'm like, I'm not playing this mini game when it's still a little bit RNG.
I already put 33 hours into this game and feel like I wasted my time. No shot I'm putting any more time into this game.
So now that we've talked about all like the story and everything like that, what'd you think about that final boss?
The final boss was just a lot of HP and like was really fast. That's really what it was. It was a lot of HP and really fast. I was able to pretty much, I mean, I first tried the final boss at like level, I think most of my characters were level 44 and then 1 or 2 of them were level 43. And like from what I've seen now, that I was underleveled. From what I've seen, like the suggestion says to be like at least level 48.
Yeah. That's what I ended up being. Yeah.
Items canceling the boss when you can, and like the super broken orb that stops time.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah, the orbs were broken. Like
the orbs were very broken.
Yeah. But that was like the final boss, and then the ending. The ending was so dumb. Like we get the ghost of brother past, and then we get Yuki and Alfina had a kid, and because she's blonde and he has blue hair, the kid has green hair. Oh my god. We took an art class in elementary school. Oh my goodness. I was so frustrated with the end of this game.
Daddy, can I fly someday? And Yuki just goes, eh. And literally I just screamed at the game being like, that's not a fucking answer.
I was so annoyed. I was so fucking annoyed. Like, it was
apparently if you have a blonde have a baby with somebody with blue hair, the child ends up with green hair. You didn't know that? Like,
that's yep, apparently.
And the ears were like half the size of Alfina's. I thought that was hilarious. The ears, they had like little pointy elf ears, but they were like little nubs.
Yep.
They were
They
like half
legit
the
were like,
size.
oh, they had a baby. We're just gonna fuse them together and then like shrink it, and there you go.
Yeah, there's the child. Yep. And then that's the thing. And then the credits roll. And I just sat there staring, being like, is this literally it? And you
Oh, I
don't
was.
even get a cutscene of animation for like half the other, like all the other characters. Like you see like Donna putting a flower on the grave, and then like, but it's a still image. And
Yeah.
then you see Ulf surrounded by kids, still image. You see your mom with with your new daddy, still image.
Yeah,
Like all the cutscene was still images except for the Yuki and Alfina having a little kid, and it's just like, and even that cutscene was like 2 minutes long. Like
I will
spent
say
33 hours on this game, and I got like 5 minutes of an ending.
and it wasn't even good.
And it wasn't even good.
Like, it made me mad. It made the ending. The ending might have been the worst part. That's the shocking thing. Like,
Yeah,
I felt
I agree.
so.
The ending was not worth everything you go through that game.
I felt so bittersweet beating this game because I was so happy it was over, but then like I was so upset that it happened the way it did.
Immediately was like, I'm done. Like I spammed KJ and I was like, beat it. It was like 2 a.m.
It was
so
like 2 a.m.
excited.
and I'm questioning whether or not I want to just stay up for another 3 hours and beat the game. And I was just like, nah, I'll just do it in the morning. And then I beat it literally. I woke up and beat it like 2 hours after.
Yeah. And it's funny because like I literally was like, yeah, I beat it. And then like 10 minutes later, I was like, yep, that was a game. It's literally all I wrote KJ. And that was that's my explanation of the ending. And then he got to it and I was like, he finished. And I'm like, so how about that ending? He's like, what fucking ending?
I'll tell you what, this was a game of all time. That's how this was a game of all time. Like that's just
it was a game.
It's a game.
We played it. It had a good battle system and good music.
How are you feeling about it overall? let's
So
I'll throw you on the spot there.
Okay. Yeah. My next segment where we want to talk about the reviews of the game, we have to actually review it before we do that last.
Interesting. Okay, we'll go for it.
Add. Yeah, so this game. I mean, the sad thing is like the reason my score might be higher is because of the battle system. The battle system and the OST. If I was just going purely by story and character development, and that's what drives you in an RPG is the story, it would be like a 2 out of 10.
I literally put 2 fingers up. When you said that, I literally put 2 fingers up.
It literally would be a 2 out of 10. If you are an RPG gamer who is driven by story and you play mostly by story,
don't play the game. If that is the case, don't play this. If you care, if story is going to matter to you in a game, stay away from Grandia 3.
Because it literally just keeps making you be like, oh, I hope it just gets better. I hope it gets better. I hope I get some sort of story. I hope something happens. And you get 33 hours into it, where we were both like, we beat the game for the podcast. That's what we're doing. And we watched that ending and we were both just like, I think the ending actually made me madder than the rest of the game.
I was definitely more angry. I was legitimately angry when I finished that game.
Ending just punched me in the gut. Like it was like we could have just had no ending and I would have been happier with that.
I think I would have been happier if they would have just rolled to credits right after you killed the final boss. I would have been like,
yeah, just give me credits.
You didn't give me an ending.
That for excuse of an ending. Just credits, please.
Yep.
Like, yeah, if you care about story, character development, where anything makes sense, and actually like shapes up characters and makes you care, don't play this game at all. If you're somebody who can overlook all of that and want to play it for the fun battle system, the fun mechanics in that sense of the battle system, then yeah, this is an okay, like it's a really good battle system. It's really good music. You'll never like, the music sounds so good you don't end up getting bored of it, even though you hear it a million times, and with the battle music and stuff. And they did a really good job with that. And so the battle system and everything is fun or whatever, and challenging at times, especially with some of the bosses. It makes you think. It makes you like reconfigure your character sometimes, and all that sort of stuff. That portion of it, I will say, was fun.
My
But
question to you there:
the rest
why
of
not
it,
just why not just play Grandia 1 or Grandia 2 at that point?
yeah, it's a point where, yes, Grandia 3 has the better battle system out of the two, but the other two games have a lot more going for it, even if they are slightly inferior in terms of the battle system.
Mhm.
That's the way I'm going to say it. And I honestly just I don't recommend people play it. I think it's kind of a waste of time. It's a long time too. It's not like this game was like 15 hours. If this game was like 15 hours or 20 hours and it was like this bad, whatever, right? But the fact that I had like 33, 34 hours into this game, that's a lot of my time gone.
Can't get those 30. Grandia 3 robbed me of 33 hours and I can't get it back, and I'm not happy about it.
I kind of want to send Square Enix a bill for my 33 hours wasted.
Honestly, though.
Yeah, like I like Kodelka better than this. Like
I don't know if I'll go. They're pretty on par for me, if I'm being honest. The one thing Kudelka's got going for it is that it was only like a 15-hour game.
Yes.
That's what it's got going for it.
It was trying something new and didn't really quite hit the mark. It also has going for it its connection to Shadow Hearts, which is partly why I liked it more. And I keep.
But if we going
that. But taking that out aside, yeah, at least it was not 33 hours. If Kodelka was like 33-hour, 40-hour game like that,
I don't think we would still be doing this podcast if Kudelka was a 40-hour game. Let's be real.
I probably would have just let you. I would have given that. We're not reviewing this one. We'll change.
Yeah, we would not have finished that game. Or
games.
I would not have finished the game if it was 40 hours.
Yeah. So in that instance, KJ, what do you review Grandia 3 out of?
So it's really funny.
10? So
I'm in a community where we're doing like a game challenge thing, and you have to like report the games that you beat and then like give them a score. So on Sunday, when I finished this game, I gave it a 6. I have now had 2 days to kind of let that settle. And now I'm more at like a 5.5. So I think I'm gonna sit comfortably at my 5.5 out of 10 and go from there.
Honestly, man, I am the exact same boat. I literally have written right here 5.5. I'm not kidding.
I love it.
I love it. This game broke me in terms of like, it's the first game that we're doing to start this year. I was excited that we were doing a Grandia game because I had so much fun with one. And like I've been dealing with a lot of medical issues right now. I've been very transparent about it on my own streams and stuff like that. And in a lot of pain. And I had to like push myself through this game while I was suffering. And I was like, why does the universe hate me? Like, I just kept asking. I'm like, why do I have physical and medical issues at the same time as playing this damn game right now? Like, my brain was just like, I just want to play anything else. And Eno just kept leaning over to me, being like, you don't have to finish it. Just play something else. And I'm like, no, because I am a stubborn child. And I was like, I was halfway through the game at that point. And I'm like, no, I'm finishing this game. I don't care. I don't care if I have to like drag myself out of bed to play this stupid game. I'm gonna beat it. I'm gonna finish it. I was so stubborn at that point. And now when I beat it, I just kind of was so frustrated with the ending, and I was just so frustrated that we just never had a plot line. And I just kind of sat and I was like, I had to do this while I was in some of the most physical pain I've been in like my whole life. And I'm going, it made me cranky. So my first score was a 4.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm glad you at least like I'm glad you at
But-
least like sat down and thought about it a little bit.
Yeah. So I sat down afterwards. I wrote out my notes of it. I kind of went back and forth and thought. I even did research, and I wanted to bring this up. I went back because this game, back when it was released, was reviewed 7.5, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 in some areas. And I was like,
I'm convinced those people don't know how to count.
How?
I'm convinced that those people don't know how to count.
And I went back and I looked at some of those reviews. I could only find some of them were up, some of them weren't up anymore, obviously. I went back, I looked at some of the reviews, I looked at the writing points of the reviews. All of them kind of were coming at it from a growing up with Grandia sort of experience. Or they didn't get past the first 8 hours of the game. Fun fact, half of those reviews that I found that were 8s and 9s did not get past the first 8 hours of the game. And they admit it in the review.
Please do not please do not put full reviews of games out into the ether without finishing the game.
And that happened a lot back then. It happened a lot back then. You look through like PlayStation 2 era of games of reviews, PlayStation 1, a lot of reviews back then did actually admit to never beating the game. In fact, there were whole like TV shows of like X-Play and reviews on the run where they would do an RPG and be like, yeah, this is great, it's a this, and then never beat the game, never got through halfway through the game, and we're just fine with it. And majority of the reviews that review this game so high, either one came from a nostalgia of like 1, 2 being their childhood. This was also a childhood kind of cute kind of game, not cutesy, but like kind of game, and whatever came from that core bit. Or they didn't beat the game and they didn't get through past where Miranda and Alonzo leave your party. The reviews stop there. And I
mean, that's where the game got...
It all made sense because when I really thought about it, that first part of the game pushed me to keep going for a while.
Honestly, up to that point
through the game, and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna beat it at this point.
After that, like up to that point, I was actually enjoying the game. Yeah, I will be like full transparency. Like up to that point, I was like, oh, this is gonna be dope. Like this is gonna be good. We're gonna see.
If I didn't get past those 8 hours of the game, I probably would have given it a 7 or 8 too, because I was really enjoying it. But my integrity is that I don't want to review a game unless I'm actually gotten through it or beat it, or the review is I rage quit this thing. And I'm trying really hard not to do that. That latter part, I want to try to get through to at least the end of the game, if not beating the game. My motivation is to beat it. But like the fact that if I would have really thought about it and only played that first few hours of the game, I would have probably scored it a lot higher, because you're right. We both were enjoying it. It was goofy. It was silly. We liked the battle system. We liked the music. Yeah. Like we were enjoying it, figuring it was going to get better and give us more plot and all that sort of stuff. If I would have stopped there and reviewed the game, I absolutely would have reviewed it higher. And that's where all those reviews back in the day came from. They did not get past that portion of the game, or they got a little bit past it, but not like they never got to the end or whatever. Majority of those reviews did not talk about the ending. The few of them that did were ones that kept going like, oh, I love it. I played Grandia 1 and 2 as a kid, Grandia 3, as a teenager, blah, blah, blah. They were young. They were young when they reviewed it. They were young when they were engaging into it. And I'm like, yeah, I see it. I see why. Because it felt so bad when I had it at a 4, and I was like, I reevaluated everything because I was just really cranky at that point. I was cranky and pain, and I knew that was where that was coming from. So I was like, nah, I got to redo
Even
this.
Still, a 5 is the lowest score either of us have ever given. So congrats on that.
Yeah.
I even gave Kudelka a 5.5.
What's that?
I said I even gave Kudelka a 5.5.
I gave Kudelka, I think, a 6. Yeah. This is my lowest review game that we've played. Is 5.5 as Grandia 3. And that's being generous because I did like the battle system so much. That's what gave it the 0.5 over 5. That battle system fucking slaps, and I love it. And the music wasn't horrible. It wasn't like like the Chrono Cross battle theme.
Yeah,
I love Chrono Cross. I
you're
love
not
that
wrong.
game to pieces,
You're
but like
not
that
wrong.
battle theme was hard to listen to for a very long portion of the game. At least the two battle themes that you have, the first disc and the second disc, were great and they were fine to listen to. Like that's what pulled it up to 0.5 for me from the 5. I would have given it a flat out 5. And then honestly, I'm recommending people who like story and like to build up characters and stuff to not play it. Because
I'm not recommending this game to anybody that, like, if I recommend this game to you, I probably don't like you. Let's be real. I'm not recommending this game to anybody that I actually appreciate and appreciate their time.
I don't want
everybody
people to
that's
waste
in
33
everyone
hours
that's in the
of their
chat
life
right now.
hoping there's going to be a story
don't
when
play
there's
this.
never a story.
Like, everyone that's in this chat right now, please, I care about y'all. Don't play this game.
Yeah.
Don't play this game.
We love you guys,
There's so many better games out
there.
there. There are so many better games out there. Don't play this. This is a waste of your time.
It's a waste of your time. And it's a waste of 33 hours of your time. Like, this isn't even like a 10, 15-hour game that you could be like, oh, it's sucky story and characters, but hey, it's short. At least you could get through it. Okay, maybe. Maybe if the battle system's so freaking fun, you just have to play it, then do it. But no, like it's 33, 34 to 40 hours, depending on how much you struggle or are good with the battle system. You might be playing it longer or shorter than us. And honestly, I don't hate people enough to do that to them. Like, it's just you keep expecting there to be a story and you keep expecting there to be character development, and there's nothing. There's literally nothing. And
like I said,
and this is coming from, like, I'm usually a positive, optimistic person about these kind of things, but I'm just like, I can't do it. It was,
I mean, I tend to look at the glass half full, but also I'm a realist. Like, if something is not worth my time, I'm gonna be real about it.
Yeah.
And like, I understand the mentality of like playing to basically say like I've completed the series.
Yes.
So like, in that regard, I'm glad that we've played this, because like now when I play Grandia 2 later on this year, I'll have played all 3 and I'll be able to kind of talk about that.
Yeah,
but
and I don't think Extreme should be thrown into there. Even the developers,
just because it's a different type of game.
It was a bad game, and they tried something and it didn't work, and they're very transparent even about that. So it's like that I don't even recommend people getting. But yeah, to me, I have now played and beat all 3, and I'm like, I'm happy that I've completed the series. I'm just disappointed that it ended on this, and it now makes sense why there hasn't been a Grandia game since. Because I think even with the skewed scores of the first 8 to 10 hours of the game, that yay, this is an amazing game, and gave it 7, 8s, and 9s, only playing, less than 10 hours of the game. Even with those, I don't think it was very well received overall when the consumer got it in their hands and played it and were like, oh. So I feel like I see this game all the time in pawn shops, all the time at retro stores. Like, it's usually $10, $20. It's never very expensive, and it's one of those things that is just kind of out in the wild, because I don't think majority of the people do enjoy it. I think there's a small group of people that do, like either the nostalgia of Grandia, playing it as a kid, playing it as a young teenager,
or people that just don't necessarily care about story.
Better if I did play it when I was just like, I would have been still in high school when the game came out, but I didn't end up playing it. I played it a little bit in college, but then I just dropped it because of college stuff. I think if I would have played it in high school, I might have liked it a little bit better, because I would have been a lot younger and a lot more like less access to good RPGs, and because like a lot of them got overshadowed and pushed away. Like, I didn't get to play a lot of these games that I'm playing now that I'm like, holy crap, these are amazing games. Playing like Xenogears and Suikoden and all those things that I never got to play when I was growing up. So this might have actually stood out as something that I had enjoyed if I played all the way through it as a kid. I might have actually liked it back then. And then if I'd never gone back to play it, I would have be preaching to everybody, oh yeah, it's great, I liked it. And then everybody going, your opinion sucks, after they play it. And I'm kind of glad I played this as a much older adult. And so I could be very much like, Don't do it. Don't do it.
It
Just
just
play one
makes
and
me
two. Just play
it
one and
just makes
two.
me so mad because like I'm playing another game that is from the same era. Like this came out here in 2006. Suikoden 5 came out in 2006, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, and Suikoden 5 looks fantastic.
And it's like, oh my goodness. It is
like night and day.
It is
Heck,
ridiculous.
we viewed Valkyrie Profile 2 higher than this game, and it came out around the same time.
I was gonna say Valkyrie Profile, yeah. These all came out around the same like end of the PS2, beginning of the PS3 era.
Mm-hmm.
And like
like night and day.
Yeah, it's really tough.
It's
but
really tough.
yes.
Yeah. But I'm glad that I did it, and I'm glad
Same.
that you'll be getting to do Grandia 2, because you get to leave off on a better of the three.
Oh yeah, I will leave this series on a good note, thankfully.
I'm leaving on it on a like my heart hurts. And now I just want to go replay 2 so that I don't hurt anymore. That's how I feel. I know that's melodramatic, but that's how I feel right now. But yeah, that's Grandia 3, y'all. Did it meet your expectations?
I mean, this is a hell of a way to. This is not. I did not think this was going to be the worst game that we played this year. It might end up being the worst game we play this year.
Yep. I can't see Golden Sun Dark Dawn being worse than this. I really can't. I have no idea. I played Golden Sun for the first time and like end of last year for the second one and the first two in 2022, I think. So yeah.
We'll see. We'll have to see.
We'll see.
We'll be waiting. We'll be waiting for August for that one.
Yeah, that one's not until August, luckily. To tell you about our next one, get out of this Grandia 3 thought because it's just going to make me mad more. I literally wrote out, this is for me because I knew I wasn't going to do this on the podcast because it would be too long, but I literally wrote out how they could have made portions of the game better. Like
you put too much time into that. Nope. I was like, this game already got me for 33 hours. You're not taking a fucking second more.
Like just bits and pieces. That's how I came up with if Alfina, we were told by her perspective first, like that would have been already a better start to the game and things like that. But yeah, I realized I put too much effort into it, and I was like, I'm not even going to talk about this on the podcast because it'll take too long. And I said, and it's not worth it because they're never going to touch it. They're never going to they're never going to bring it because they know. And it's like, if they ever do anything with this game, I hope to heck that they just remake it. Just
leave it alone. Let this game die.
Grandia 3 or make it Grandia 4.
Let this game die with its mediocrity. Just let it rot.
Grandia 4 so that at least you revive the series or something on something new. But yeah, to talk about it. So in February, we're going to be playing The Last Story. This is a game I didn't know super existed until KJ told me about it.
I'm super excited to play this game.
And then I looked into it a little bit and I was like, wow, this game looks beautiful. I'm really excited. Like, I really want to try it. So when we were talking, he's like, let's do it for the podcast because I haven't played it yet either. And then I found a copy of it at a retro game store. For a very good price. And so I was like, all right, let's do it. We're doing it. And I grabbed it. And I'm really, really excited. I'm actually excited about that one. I feel like it's going to be, hopefully, I hope to heck it's a step up from this. I can't go through another.
It can't be. I don't think we can get much worse from this. I feel like this is a low point.
Yeah. For me to score something under a 5, the game has to be like both no story and broken. Like it starts to get like to the point where if the game is broken, it goes under a 5.
You are very generous when it comes to rating things. I'm usually the more critical one.
I know the fact that we both ended up at 5.5 is hilarious because usually I'm higher than you.
Oh yeah, I'm just like this game hurt me.
Yeah, this hurt me mentally while I was hurting physically.
But yeah. The Last Story is our next game. Yes. That'll be the February game. It is a Wii game. It's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be good. It's a Mistwalker game, so anybody that's familiar with Mistwalker, like Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon, good time. But yeah, I think we can generally wrap up here. Are there any closing thoughts? Are there any closing thoughts on this game, Polly?
I now have a game
sigh.
to recommend to the people I don't like. That's all I'm gonna say.
I will. If, like I said that earlier. If I recommend this game to you, I don't like you. just straight up. Like, everybody that's in chat, don't play this game.
Yeah, everybody in chat
don't
right
do
now,
it.
we like you. Please don't play this.
Yeah, don't play this game.
I feel like that's gonna set off more people to be like, nah, I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna prove you wrong.
I mean, I do think
you.
this will get some people to play it, but like, realistically, they're gonna see the story is bad, the combat is good, and the story is more bad than, like, the story is worse than the combat is good, if that makes sense. That's the tipping point for me, is like,
yeah, that's why
I would
said
much rather.
Point 5 came from the battle system being so good. Like
I would much rather go back to the Grandia 1 battle system,
yeah,
with the Grandia 1 story, rather than stay with this garbage story and play with the better battle system. So
100%. It's the same way I feel about 2. Same idea. 2 is a step up from Grandia 1 in terms of the battle system, but it's still like, this one's still the better of the 3 that I've played, and I still would rather play 1 or 2. Even with the slightly clunkier battle systems of the 2, but the stories are so much better. Like, it's so much more engaging for me. Like, I'm very much somebody who, I want the story and the characters to be somewhat great for an RPG. To pull me through it. Like, you can have the best mechanics in the world, but if your story and your game suck, you're getting a 5.5, and that's what happened with this one. It's like, the story in the game, the characters, all of it just was a letdown. Even the jarring, like, 3 different kind of art directions that they were going in was so weird that it's like, I couldn't even give it more points there, because I'm like, I like the concept art, but the concept art is in so little of the game that I'm like, I can't even be like, yeah, this. And so yeah, I'd rather clunky battle system, great story, great characters, than amazing battle system and awful story and awful characters. Like, that's just the way I'm going to be with these RPGs.
Agreed.
Especially because they're always like, 20, 30, 40, 50 hours of your time. Like, it's like, to invest in that much to just have a good battle system and nothing backing it up is just like, go play a good RPG then. Like, I don't know. That's my closing thought. I was gonna say, okay, 1 and 2. That's my closing thought.
We're leaving off with Polly being very, very bitter about this game. Thank you, everybody that tuned in to the podcast. We'll be back in February. This podcast will go up live on all platforms, and yeah, we'll be back in the end of February, the last Tuesday in February. So we appreciate y'all. Thank you for being here. And
it's the 27th or the 29th. I think we're gonna go with the 27th, though. I think we're gonna keep it on the Tuesdays. I think would be good. Try to keep it on the Tuesday. Yeah, so February 27th is when we're gonna do the last story podcast. And yeah, thank y'all for listening and hanging out with us. And you could join either of our Discords. We actually found a way to connect our Turn-Based Tangents. We found a way to connect our Turn-Based Tangents chats in both of our Discords. So even if you join his or mine or both, you could talk in there and it'll come up on both Discords, which is really freaking cool. So we're doing that for a little while to like kind of build up hype and momentum. So yeah, definitely join in. So if you've played this game, if you haven't played the last story, it's shorter. It's like 15-20 hours. So yeah, join us for February with the last story. I'm really excited to be playing it.
All right. So thanks, everybody, and we'll catch y'all for the next one.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll be more positive next time.
Have a good